I've always been someone who enjoys walking at night. I live in a quiet town in New Jersey, and my apartment backs up to a large public park. Most people avoid the trails after sunset, but for me, it's the only time I can clear my head. No traffic, no small talk, just a crunch of gravel beneath my shoes and the distant hum of streetlights buzzing in the dark. This happened in October of last year, and I haven't walked the trails since. It started on a Monday night around 10 p.m. I had just gotten off a stressful Zoom call and needed to get out of the apartment. The air was crisp, the trees were almost bare, and the full moon gave the path this soft, silvery glow. I took my usual route looping through the wooded trail, past the duck pond, and then back up toward the parking lot. About 5 minutes into the walk, I heard footsteps behind me. At first, I figured it was just another late-night walker. Nothing unusual. But after a few minutes, I realized something strange. The steps were always 20 feet behind me. Never catching up, never falling back, just trailing. I glanced over my shoulder and saw a man. Tall, hooded. Too far to make out details, but close enough to know he was there. I slowed down, pretending to check my phone. He slowed down too. I stopped. He stopped. No hesitation, like it was a reflex. I stared for a moment, but he just stood there, unmoving. So I kept walking, a little faster this time. I didn't want to be rude. Maybe he was just a guy going the same way. Maybe I was being paranoid. But when I made a sharp left at the fork in the trail, a turn I never take, I could hear him shift behind me. 20 feet back, still following. Now my stomach started to tighten. I took out my phone and opened the camera app, pretending to scroll while sneakily switching to the selfie lens. I angled it just enough to catch the trail behind me. There he was, still 20 feet, still motionless when I stopped again. His face wasn't visible in the low light, just the outline of his figure, shoulders too square, like he was standing stiffly at attention. Something about his posture felt off, too still, too perfect. I picked up my pace again, breaking into a light jog. I didn't care if I looked weird. I just wanted to get back to the street. But even as I jogged, I could hear him jogging too. Not fast, not out of breath, just matching me, exactly 20 feet. By the time I reached the old wooden bridge near the stream, I was full-on panicking. I turned sharply again, this time onto a side trail that looped back toward a residential street. I thought that would throw him off, but no, 20 feet. Always 20 feet. I finally stopped under a lamp post, heart pounding, and turned around completely, staring straight at him. This time he stopped too, but then he did something different. He tilted his head to the side, slowly, deliberately, like he was studying me. That was the moment I knew something wasn't right. This wasn't just a weirdo following me. This felt orchestrated, like he had done this before. I shouted, "Hey, what do you want?" He didn't answer, didn't move. Just kept his head cocked at that angle, like a dog listening to a sound only it could hear. I backed away, phone still in my hand, and called 911. As I spoke to the dispatcher, I kept my eyes on him, but when I blinked, he was closer. Not running, not walking, just closer. Now only about 10 feet away. I yelled again, but he didn't respond. The dispatcher stayed on the line, telling me to keep moving toward the street, that officers were on the way. I turned to run, heart slamming in my chest, and didn't stop until I hit the pavement. A cruiser pulled up moments later, and 2 officers got out, scanning the path with flashlights. He was gone. They searched the whole trail system, nothing. No footprints. No signs of anyone hiding nearby. Just me, breathless and shaking, trying to explain something I couldn't even process. The police took my statement and said they'd keep an eye on the area. But what could they do? Being followed isn't illegal unless there's a confrontation, and there wasn't one, at least not that night. But here's the part that still messes me up. 3 days later, I got curious. I went to a local Facebook group and searched for any posts about strange behavior in the park. I found something. A woman had posted last fall, almost exactly 1 year earlier. She described a man following her at exactly 20 feet, mirroring every move, never speaking, never stopping, until she sprinted home in a panic. The comments were full of similar stories, different people, different nights, same man, same distance, always 20 feet. I haven't walked the trails since, but sometimes when I take the trash out late or walk to my car in the early morning, I feel it again, that cold pull on my neck, the weight of eyes that shouldn't be there. And just once, I turned around fast, trying to catch whatever it was off guard. There was no one there, but 20 feet behind me on the sidewalk was a set of wet footprints, still glistening, still fresh, and I was alone. You learn something strange when you're stalked by a presence you can't see. It's not the footsteps or the cold or the silence that drives you insane. It's the precision, every movement, every appearance, 20 feet, on the dot, not a step closer, not a step farther, not random, not human, measured like I was being studied. That morning, after the flashlight turned on by itself, I sat in the corner of my bedroom until the sun came up. I didn't sleep. I didn't even blink. Every time I looked at that empty space, it felt like someone had just stepped back into the walls, like they were still there. I started researching. Not ghosts, not demons, not even people. I started searching phrases. Person always 20 feet behind me. Entity keeps same distance. Why is someone copying my footsteps at a fixed distance? Nothing helpful, until I found a forum buried in the results. It looked old, dead, only one thread, one post, no replies. The title? 20 feet is the feeding range. The post was short, just a paragraph, no username, no explanation. It starts with walking. You hear it, feel it, it mimics you. At first it keeps the distance. That's how it learns your pattern. It will never cross the line until it knows your rhythm, your routines, your reactions. 20 feet is where it waits, because it can't hurt you until you acknowledge it. Once you truly see it, it doesn't need to hide anymore. I closed my laptop. My hands were shaking. I had seen it. I had yelled at it. I had turned around. That night, I stayed awake again. 3:07, Ami came, and this time I heard the footsteps inside my room, not moving forward, walking in place. The sound of sneakers on hardwood, circling 20 feet from my bed. I didn't look. I couldn't. I pulled the blanket over my head like a child, and somehow, I don't know how, I fell asleep. The next morning I had a voicemail. It was from Jasmine. She sounded breathless, panicked. "Hey, are you home? I just drove past your place again. And I swear to God, I saw someone standing in your bedroom window. I thought maybe it was you, but they didn't move. They just stood there. I honked. Nothing. Please call me back. I never called her back. I packed a bag that day and left. Checked into a hotel, paid in cash, no social media, no forwarding address. It was over, or so I thought. I stayed in that hotel for 6 days. Nothing happened, no footsteps, no ring alerts, no sightings. On the 7th night, I got bold. I went to a late-night diner 2 blocks away. Felt normal, human again. When I came back, there was something waiting in front of my hotel door. A single, wet footprint. Facing inward, the next day I moved again and again. No matter how far I went 2 towns over, then 4 he followed. Not visibly, but always there, always 20 feet behind me. Sometimes I hear the footsteps. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get into an Uber and the driver pauses and says, "Your friend not coming?" I tell them I'm alone. They always blink slowly, like they're unsure, like they saw someone. But no one ever remembers their face, only the distance. That perfect 20 feet measured, like it's waiting, like it always has been, like it's not just behind me, but inside the space I carry with me. They say when you tell a scary story, it loses some of its power. I used to believe that. I thought writing it down, saying it out loud, putting it out there, maybe that would make the fear fade. But all it did was invite something back. After that night, the footprints on the sidewalk, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was condensation, maybe someone had just walked by. But the problem was, I just looked. 1 second earlier, the pavement had been dry, then wet footprints, spaced perfectly. Not staggered like someone running or walking naturally. Each print was placed exactly where the last ones had been that night on the trail. Like he was reminding me. I stopped going out at night completely. My routine changed. No more walks. I parked closer to my building. Kept my curtains shut. I even bought motion lights for outside my windows and a Ring camera for my front door. For a few weeks, nothing happened. It was almost enough to convince me it had been in my head, until I checked the Ring camera one morning. There was a motion alert from 3:07 a.m. I didn't hear anything during the night, which made it worse. When I opened the video, my stomach dropped. The footage showed the sidewalk in front of my door. There were no people in it, no animals. But there was one wet footprint. Just one, smack in the center of the frame. It hadn't been there in the video before the motion trigger, then it just appeared. Like someone had stepped into frame, but wasn't visible. I called the police again, and they said the same thing. No trespasser, no crime. But I knew what I saw. I deleted the app the next day. I couldn't stand the idea of checking again and seeing something worse. A week passed. Then another. I tried to move on. Then one night, the lights in my bedroom flickered. Not all at once, just one after another, like someone was walking under the floorboards. I live alone, no one upstairs. I chalked it up to old wiring. But then I heard footsteps on the hardwood floor in the hallway outside my bedroom. Measured, even, 20 feet. I don't know how I knew it, but I did. I sat frozen in bed, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. I couldn't bring myself to get up. I just stared at the crack under the door, waiting to see shadows move past. But there was nothing. Then I realized something. The sound wasn't coming closer. It wasn't moving at all. Just footsteps. The sound of someone walking in place, over and over, right outside my door. I slept with the lights on that night. The footsteps stopped around 5 a.m. just as the sun started to rise. I told myself it had to be something explainable. I kept repeating it like a prayer, but then came the worst part. A coworker, Jasmine, pulled me aside at work later that week. She said I looked pale, asked if everything was okay. I almost brushed it off, but she said something that made my blood run cold. "Hey, weird question," she said. "Do you know a guy in a gray hoodie? He was standing outside your building this morning. I was driving by and he just, I don't know, he gave me a weird feeling. Didn't move, just stood there. But the thing is," she paused, "he was exactly 20 feet from your front door. I felt like I was going to throw up. I didn't tell her anything. Just said I didn't know who it was. I considered staying at a hotel, but the idea of being away from what I knew felt worse. Like if I left, he'd de-follow me and I'd lose control of knowing when or where he'd show up next. That night I locked every door, barricaded the bedroom, slept with a knife under my pillow. Nothing happened. The next night, same thing. Still nothing. But on the third night, something changed. At exactly 3:07, I woke up with a jolt. Not to sound, not to light, but to pressure. Like someone was standing 20 feet away from me in the room. Like my body knew it before my eyes did. I sat up slowly and looked across the room. Nothing there. But the air felt wrong, dense, electric. I turned to grab my phone, and that's when I saw it. On the screen, before I even unlocked it, there was a notification from my flashlight app. Flashlight turned on, 3:07 a.m. Barn. I never opened it. I never touched it. I turned to face the wall behind me where the light had shined. There was nothing. No shadow. No figure. But I swear, as I stared into that empty corner of my room, I felt something move. Backward, exactly 20 feet.